Picture this, $1 billion, evaporating right before your eyes. Harrison Trent stood in his Manhattan boardroom, watching every screen freeze, his empire, his reputation, his legacy, all locked behind a wall of corrupted code. The biggest deal of his career was 3 hours away from collapse. 20 floors of Ivy League graduates couldn't fix it. $1 million consultants were sweating through their suits. And the clock? It just kept ticking. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. The person who saved Harrison's empire wasn't in that boardroom. He wasn't on the payroll. He didn't even have a desk. He was 16 years old, waiting for his father to finish mopping the floors. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told you weren't enough, you need to hear this story. Hit that like button right now, because what happens next will change how you see everyone around you. Manhattan's financial district has a rhythm. Glass towers pierce the sky like crystal daggers. Inside those towers, fortunes are made before most people finish their morning coffee. And at the top of the tallest tower sat Harrison Trent, a man who turned ruthlessness into an art form. They called him the Shark of Wall Street, and he wore that title like a badge of honor. Harrison didn't just win deals. He crushed them. Competitors feared him. Employees avoided eye contact in hallways. Board meetings felt like gladiator arenas where only the sharpest survived. In 15 years, he'd built Trent Holdings from a small investment firm into a $9 billion empire. His philosophy was simple. Weakness is expensive. Sentiment is for losers. Trust the credentials. Trust the pedigree. Trust the price tag. He had 300 employees. He knew maybe 5 by name. Ever worked for someone who never learned yours? Who looked through you like you were furniture? Harrison perfected that. Now, his crown jewel, a $1 billion acquisition of a revolutionary tech firm, was 48 hours from closing. This deal would cement his legacy, catapult Trent Holdings into the stratosphere, make him untouchable. But that Tuesday morning, as storm clouds rolled over Manhattan like an omen, Harrison had no idea his entire worldview was about to shatter. Not from a hostile takeover, not from a market crash, but from a teenager with a trash rescue laptop and nothing to lose. The universe has a funny way of teaching lessons to people who think they've learned them all. 7:42 a.m. The first alarm. Harrison was reviewing final contracts when every screen in the building went dark, then flooded with error messages. The internal network, frozen, completely locked. Within minutes, chaos consumed the executive floor. IT professionals sprinted through corridors, laptops tucked under arms like wounded soldiers. The head of cybersecurity looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 minutes. Phone calls to external consultants went out, emergency rates, whatever it takes. Fix this now. But nothing worked. Every attempted override failed. Every backdoor blocked. Every recovery protocol useless. And the clock? Merciless. The tech firm CEO was flying in for the 11 a.m. signing. If Trent Holdings couldn't access its own financial verification systems, couldn't prove liquidity, couldn't demonstrate operational stability, the deal was dead. Harrison stood at the boardroom window, watching rain slash against the glass. For the first time in his career, fear crept into his chest. Not the kind you push down and ignore, the kind that wraps around your lungs and squeezes. His CFO suggested postponement. His legal team drafted apology statements. His PR director prepared damage control. But Harrison Trent didn't postpone. He didn't apologize. He won. Except this time, he had no moves left. The room fell into desperate silence. The kind where you hear the hum of lights, the distant thunder, the death rattle of everything you built. You won't believe who walks through that door next. Drop a comment if you're already hooked, because this is where impossible becomes possible. 20 floors below the panic, in the basement maintenance wing, Luis Ortega wrung out his mop in a yellow bucket. 15 years. 15 years of mopping these floors, polishing these railings, emptying these trash cans. 15 years of being invisible. Luis didn't mind. Honest work was honest work. He clocked in at 6 a.m., clocked out at 3 p.m., and every penny went toward one thing, giving his son Mateo opportunities Luis never had. Mateo was 16, brilliant, and hungry for knowledge like most kids are hungry for video games. While other teenagers scrolled social media, Mateo devoured coding tutorials on YouTube. While they slept, he practiced server configurations on forums. While they complained about homework, he taught himself cybersecurity from free online courses. His classroom? The maintenance break room. His computer? An old laptop Luis had rescued from the executive floor trash. Cracked screen, missing keys, but functional. Where others saw garbage, Luis saw his son's future. That Tuesday, Mateo sat in his usual corner, waiting for his dad's shift to end. Rain drummed against the small basement window. He was deep in a practice problem when he heard it. The commotion upstairs. Footsteps running. Voices sharp with panic. Words floating down. Breach! Servers were dead. Curiosity pulled him from his chair. While billion-dollar consultants failed upstairs, a kid with a trash rescue laptop was about to change everything. Know someone who taught themselves skills the world said they weren't qualified for? Keep watching. Mateo climbed the stairs toward the executive floor, toward the chaos, toward a moment that would rewrite his entire life. The boardroom doors stood open, unusual for the executive floor. Mateo approached cautiously, peeking inside at the scene of controlled disaster. 15 people hunched over screens, barking technical jargon, faces illuminated by error codes. And there, on the main display, Mateo saw it. The problem, clear as day, his heart hammered. He'd fixed this exact issue 3 weeks ago in an online simulation, a server misconfiguration, cascading through the network, locking authentication protocols. Tricky but solvable. Should he say something? These were executives. Harvard graduates, people who flew first class and signed checks with more zeros than Mateo had ever seen. But the clock on the wall showed 8:47 a.m. And Mateo knew, absolutely knew, he could fix this. He stepped into the doorway. "Excuse me, I think I can help." The room went silent. Heads turned. Then someone laughed. "Kid, we got MIT graduates working on this. Go back downstairs." Mateo's face flushed. I can see the misconfiguration on your screen. It's the authentication relay. Security. Another executive reached for his phone. Luis appeared, apron still on, panic in his eyes. "Mateo, lo siento, come on, we can't." "Wait." Harrison's voice cut through the room like a blade. He looked at Mateo, really looked, for maybe the first time ever, saw the intensity in the boy's eyes. The confidence that wasn't arrogance, but knowledge. Harrison was desperate, and desperate meant either break or gamble. Let him try. The room erupted in protests. "Harrison, we can't let some random." "I said let him try." Silence. Mateo walked to the main terminal on shaking legs. 20 pairs of eyes burned into his back. He flexed his fingers, took a breath, and began typing. Lines of code scrolled. Commands executed. His fingers moved with practiced precision. Years of self-taught expertise flowing through muscle memory. The room held its breath. Then, a flicker. Screen lights blinked back to life. Systems refreshed. Network status. Online. Someone gasped. How did he? Time check. 9:13 a.m. 47 minutes until the meeting. The deal was saved. If this gave you chills, smash that subscribe button, because this story gets even better. The boardroom erupted. Executives high-fived. Phones lit up with relieved calls to the tech firm. Someone opened champagne left over from a previous celebration. But Harrison didn't move. He sat frozen at the head of the table, staring at Mateo's back as a teenager quietly closed programs, making sure everything stabilized. Something cracked inside Harrison in that moment. Not loud, not dramatic. A hairline fracture in the foundation of everything he believed. His mind raced backward through 15 years of empire building. Every employee he dismissed without a glance. Every custodian, security guard, assistant, receptionist who become wallpaper in his peripheral vision. The janitor he passed every single morning without making eye contact. The brilliance hiding in plain sight while he paid consultants $20,000 a day. How many times had he said, "Trust the credentials"? How many talented people had he overlooked because they didn't have the right university name on a resume? Mateo and Luis moved toward the door, expecting nothing. They'd done their part. Time to disappear back into invisibility. Wait! Luis stopped, turned. His eyes held that familiar wariness, the look of someone expecting punishment, not praise. Harrison stood. The room quieted again. He paused. The words felt foreign in his mouth. I was wrong. Confusion rippled through the executives. About a lot of things, Harrison continued, his voice softer than anyone had ever heard it. I've been looking for excellence in all the wrong places, with all the wrong measurements. He looked at Mateo. What's your name? Mateo Ortega, sir. Mateo Ortega just did what 15 experts couldn't, and I almost at security throw him out. How many times do we walk past genius because it doesn't wear a suit, because it doesn't have the right last name or zip code? How many Mateos have we dismissed? Harrison's empire had been saved, but something bigger had been lost, then found again, his humanity. The next morning, Harrison didn't show up to the press conference announcing the successful merger. His PR team panicked. Media outlets waited. The tech firm CEO looked confused. But Harrison was elsewhere. He stepped off the elevator on the basement level, a floor he'd never visited in 15 years. Maintenance workers froze mid-task, mops and tools suspended in disbelief. Harrison walked through the narrow corridor until he found Luis, who was refilling cleaning supply bottles. Mr. Ortega. Luis turned, eyes wide. Mr. Trent, if this is about yesterday, Mateo didn't mean to. Harrison held up an envelope. This is a full scholarship. Any university Mateo wants to attend. Any major he chooses. For years, everything covered. Luis couldn't speak. His hands trembled as he took the envelope. And this, Harrison continued, handing over a second document, is a job offer. Our new IT development program. Mateo starts next week, if he wants it. Paid training, mentorship, real projects. He'll work alongside our senior team. Tears welled in Luis's eyes. I don't. You don't need to say anything, Harrison said quietly. I need to say thank you. Your son didn't just save a deal. He reminded me what I'd forgotten. But Harrison wasn't finished. That afternoon, he announced company-wide policy changes. Tuition assistance for all employees' children, internal talent development programs, blind resume screening to eliminate bias. We've been looking in all the wrong places for excellence, he told the stunned board. That ends today. The shark of Wall Street was evolving, and it started with a janitor's son and a trash-rescued laptop. 6 months later, Trent Holdings looked different. Mateo thrived in the IT program, already consulting on major security projects. His insights, fresh, unconventional, brilliant, revolutionized how the company approached problems. Luis still worked maintenance. But now, executives stopped to chat. They asked about his weekend. They learned his name. The company culture shifted like tectonic plates, slowly at first, then undeniably. Town halls replaced closed-door meetings. Employees from every level contributed ideas. Innovation exploded from unexpected corners. Harrison's reputation evolved. The shark became the human. Business journals wrote features. Other companies implemented similar programs. A movement started. And in the corporate lobby, behind glass, sat a battered laptop with a brass plaque. Brilliance has no title. Sometimes it's cleaning the floors you walk on. Visitors asked about it. New employees heard the story during orientation. It became legend and legacy. One desperate morning. One overlooked teenager. One moment of humility. That's all it took to change everything. Harrison Trent told a reporter something that went viral. Brilliance has no title. It's often cleaning the floors you walk on. But here's the real lesson. Talent isn't about credentials. It's not about corner offices or Ivy League degrees. It's not about appearance or zip codes or last names. It's about seeing people, really seeing them. Who are you overlooking? That quiet coworker, the barista who remembers your order, the security guard you pass without a glance. What genius are you walking past every single day? Mateo didn't need permission to be brilliant. He just needed someone desperate enough to give him a chance. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Earthly Tales for more stories that matter. And drop a comment. Tell me about a time you were underestimated. When did someone finally see what you could do? Because everyone has a story, and every story deserves to be told.